Number 10 on our list is the War of Jenkins's Ear. This peculiarly named conflict between Britain and Spain in the mid-18th century supposedly ignited when a British captain, Robert Jenkins, exhibited his severed ear in Parliament, claiming a Spanish Coast Guard had cut it off 7 years prior. Whether or not the ear was truly Jenkins's is still a matter of debate. For our 9th position, we journey to the early 19th century for the Pastry War. Yes, you heard it right, a war over pastries. This Franco-Mexican conflict sparked when a French pastry chef in Mexico City reported that Mexican officers had damaged his shop. France demanded an exorbitant 60,000 pesos in compensation, which led to a brief but intense conflict. Number 8 takes us to the Great Emu War of Australia in the 1930s. This was not a war between nations, but between man and bird. Australian farmers, backed by the military, waged war against a large emu population that was decimating their crops. Despite their best efforts, the emus proved too numerous and resilient, leading many to say that the birds emerged victorious. Next, at number 7, is the War of the Oaken Bucket. Stemming from a petty squabble over a wooden bucket in the 14th century, this conflict between the Italian city-states of Modena and Bologna resulted in thousands of casualties, all over a bucket. At number 6, we have the Football War. This conflict between El Salvador and Honduras in 1969 was inflamed by tensions during a soccer match. Though underlying socio-economic issues played a significant role, the war is often remembered for its unusual catalyst. The 5th weirdest war is the Pig War. In the mid-19th century, a pig belonging to a British farmer was shot by an American on the disputed San Juan Island. This incident almost led to a full-blown conflict between Britain and the United States. Number 4 brings us to the Aroostook War. This was a boundary dispute between the British colony of New Brunswick and the U.S. state of Maine in the early 19th century. Despite the high tensions, not a single shot was fired in this war. In the 3rd spot, we have the 335 Years' War. This war between the Dutch and the Isles of Scilly off the English coast supposedly lasted for over 3 centuries, from 1651 to 1986. However, it was entirely bloodless, and many question whether it was a war at all. Second on our list is the War of the Stray Dog. This conflict between Greece and Bulgaria in the early 20th century began when a Greek soldier's dog crossed the border into Bulgaria, sparking a series of events that led to a brief but real war. Finally, the weirdest war in history is the Anglo-Zanzibar War of 1896. This war holds the record for the shortest war ever fought, lasting just 38 to 45 minutes. It began and ended before breakfast. So, from a war over a stray dog to one sparked by a severed ear, history is rife with bizarre conflicts. These wars, strange as they may be, tell us much about human nature, national pride, and the unforeseen consequences of the smallest actions. Our exploration of these peculiar conflicts reminds us that history is not only a tale of grand battles and great leaders, but also of the peculiar and the absurd.